Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps. It is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man who always thinks he can. And oh yeah, you're a champion of the peeps. Patty Pitts back once again in the yard streams for another edition of the Smackdown Breakdown, part of Pitts and Sara's wrestling show, where we take no nights off. And you can't have the Smackdown Breakdown without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sarah Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey yo.
Hello.
What's going on?
It's going.
How we doing? It's good to see you on this fine Saturday.
Yeah, just tired. You know.
You can tell by that yawn. I just
Yeah.
woke up from a nap myself, and boy howdy do I feel refreshed. I didn't want to take the nap, but I was like, you know what, just do it. Just do it.
Just let it happen.
It's just gonna happen, so let it happen. So yeah, we got rested up for before this and the Saturday night festivities that a champion obviously partakes in. But before we do that, because do you ever see Kicking and Screaming?
I saw it in theaters.
That's OG. That's a peep right there. That's a real one. Okay, so you get this. Wrestling comes first is my motto when it comes to doing anything with my group of friends that don't do this shit. You know what I mean? Like I say, all right, yeah, down to go out because you need to. I think this is a nice PSA for everyone in the comments section here. All our pits, fits, and yes boys out there that you just sometimes need to take a night for yourself. You need to separate a night or some time for yourself where it's your time to do whatever you need to do, see your peeps, do some alone meditation or just sleep or whatnot. So Saturday night's that for me because you got to. All right. And then we're back on the grind Sundays because you got to catch up on the other wrestling that's not WWE and all the other shit. Because like I'm not watching Collision live, Sarah. Okay. I'm just not. I'm going to watch it hungover on my couch while I'm playing my MLB franchise currently. Like that's where we're at. We're Collision. However, Smackdown though, Sarah, because segues are weird. Smackdown. See this? See the put it down. You put it down. Because yes, we were talking about this pre-stream that there is a big difference when we come on the show here for Raw and SmackDown. I would say like it's hype wise, but not really. It's just they're two different shows. They're both good, but for very different reasons.
It just, I think, you know what I was thinking about? I know this is very random, but I was thinking about the psychology also behind certain things. Like, people have more of a response to certain colors. And so Raw being red, it's like it's going to elicit more like excitement or whatever. And then you think about SmackDown and it's like blue. And generally people think of blue as being sad or cold or whatever. And I'm like, I wonder if that also plays a factor sometimes in how people view Raw and SmackDown. Like, I know that it's like, like I said, it's just a weird psychological thing that I've thought about. But like, we know that colors play a factor in certain aspects of life. So I'm like,
oh, absolutely.
I don't know. It was just a random thought that I had. Just because I tend to not be like super interested in SmackDown. So like I'm more willing to kind of skip it or wait to watch it. You know what I mean? Whereas like I need to watch Raw live. Like I have to be able to see it live. And SmackDown, I'm like, I just don't care.
They make it hard for me to really want to watch live, not because of the night or whatever it's on, but exactly what you said. The difference is that like all my favorites are on SmackDown.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Owens, LA Knight, the Bloodline, still the best story in wrestling. And like all of them are on it, and
AJ, Cody,
Styles, who
yeah,
we'll talk about. Like, and that's where all my guys are. So it's always, and it's the Rock show, Sarah. I don't know if you knew that, but The Rock did create essentially SmackDown by using the word SmackDown over and over, and then it becoming in the dictionary and blah blah blah. That's a story for another day. Let's talk about what happened on this SmackDown. However, not a lot of comments, so we're just gonna hop right into it. I do want to throw this one up, Sarah, though, because here is a collision spoiler. Roderick Strong gets a world title shot against Swerve on Dynamite this coming Wednesday. Thank you. That's actually a good spoiler. That helps. Good to know. Interesting tidbit. David, what's up? And I gotta throw this one. Sarah and Pat, I miss my favorite Patriots fans. Great.
Oh yeah.
For you, Nathaniel. For you. So now, Sarah, to stop me from royal rambling, take it away.
So SmackDown opens up with Nick Aldis in the ring to welcome Queen Nia to start her queen reign, whatever you want to call it, since she won Queen of the Ring last week. She comes out, doesn't really say a whole lot other than she's going to become the next women's champion on SmackDown. She calls out Bayley, who obliges, and as she is on her way out, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven attack her, which at first you kind of think maybe this was a planned thing from Nia, just based off of the timing of it, but apparently she had nothing to do with it. So Chelsea gets in the ring with Piper, and Chelsea tells Nia that Piper is going to be actually the next women's champion, and she will be the one that Nia will have to face at SummerSlam. So then we know, based off of that and what we see, through the rest of the night and whatever, we see that Piper is going to get a title shot at Clash at the Castle against Bayley, and partially why it's happening. Piper is Scottish.
I think she's Scottish. I think she is.
So
I'm gonna double check that.
You gotta have her on the show. So I'm happy for her, because I think that we often overlook the women who are from Europe, outside of like, oh, she's from England. It's like, okay, but you kind of forget that, Piper is Scottish, and Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are also. So I kind of hope that they have some sort of match, whether it's at or during the pay-per-view or not. I hope that they are able to, go out there in front of their home crowd as well. Exactly. So I am excited about this, because I think that Piper does deserve a little bit more of a push, especially now that she's on SmackDown, and there's definitely room for her at this point. And I mean, I don't think that she's going to beat Bayley. I don't even think Nia will beat Bayley at SummerSlam, so that's not necessarily a thing. But I would be interested to see how good of a match Piper and Nia could put on if that ever happens.
That would be a very interesting match, because Piper is a lot more athletic than people give her credit for. Mm-hmm. You can see her the way she moved last night in the ring. I'm a big fan of this, because obviously of those reasons, but Chelsea doesn't need the spotlight right now. I hate to say it, but she's too good. You know who Chelsea is. You know that she's not just some jobber doing this shtick as a jobber. No, this is just her being her. Mm-hmm. With Piper, you need to establish her as a dominant force. And in her past booking has been terrible in making her a legit threat. Now you have Chelsea pretty much having her do the dirty work for her. And yeah, you'll beat Bayley at Clash of the Castle, because you'll do it. And I don't have to fight her, and you'll soften her up for me. Like, you got to think like that mentality. Beautiful. It's working well. There was some instances last night in the tag match too that I liked. It like this. I'm a big fan of this. I was thinking about it while watching. Like, this girl went from Dewdrop.
I know.
And with Eva Marie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on. And you're like, well, she's Chelsea. Well, no, Chelsea's actually coaching her in a way and making her better and giving her the spotlight. Well, it's nice.
It's and really they nice actually have a friendship outside of wrestling, whereas, when she was paired with Eva, they didn't I don't believe they knew each other or had any sort of like friendship relationship or
I would
anything
agree.
before that. So like you can tell there's a difference in this pairing, and they work really well together, which is nice because we know Chelsea had some really bad luck with who they were pairing her up with because they kept getting injured or they got pregnant. So now she has her friend in Piper, and I feel like they just work really well together and they bounce off of each other. We've even seen Piper have more of a personality since teaming with Chelsea, because they were kind of trying to do the same thing with her that they did with Naya, where it was like, okay, you just kind of need to be like the big girl that's strong and like none of the girls want to mess with. And it's like, you can do that, but then you are also making them too stoic and boring. So now that's why we've said like Naya's thriving, because we can see some personality with her. And I think that's a good part of Piper as well, because it doesn't make them so one dimensional. You know, like
Yeah.
not a lot of people want to see that in general. Like there are places for guys like that. We're talking about the men, but like it's more fun to see these big dudes that are, you know, maybe they're 7 feet. Like if we're talking about Omos, like it's kind of fun to know that he actually does have a personality, you know,
Yeah.
like it just is more entertaining.
I
So
agree with that.
I am interested in this match at Clash of the Castle. I think it's a good addition. And again, I'm just happy for Piper because I feel like that's really cool. You know, when we're talking about Clash at the Castle, we're talking about Drew McIntyre getting to perform in front of his home crowd, you know, so it'll be cool that there's also going to be a woman kind of matching that on the other side. So I think that could be a really good match.
Good first opponent for Bailey too. That's
Yeah.
not Io. You know,
Yeah.
the big threat, the dominating threat.
Or
You know,
Naomi, like a friend, you know, like
yeah,
it's like that's fine, but it's like it's your friend, so it's not like as
yeah.
great necessarily.
The respect in the ring for a championship match only goes for a short, like very short amount of time. And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, what's the next one? You can string this out a little bit longer with Piper, even with the kind of like boxed in story that you have of David versus Goliath, technically, if you could put it
Yeah.
under that category.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you like a really random favor. But I'm just noticing this. So you know when you put your mouse over your screen and it kind of like darkens it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you take a screenshot of the screen when you do that? Because I can see the outline of the cameras. So I think that might help me when I'm trying to like make the.
You can see the cameras.
You can see like the rectangle that of the opening on StreamYard for where we show up, so I can see why the bottom is all messed up. You know what I'm
Oh, you know,
saying?
right now I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like take a screenshot and send it to me,
Yeah.
as long as you have your mouse on you or me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, I just noticed it and I'm like, I want to say it now before I forget. Anyway, okay, so moving on to we had a match between Tommaso Ciampa, who Tommaso's real name is Tommaso. So I thought that was really cool. I had to share that with Pat because I was like, I was not expecting that. I just Googled him anyway because they said he was from Boston. And I was like, I don't remember them
Yeah, I don't
saying
remember
that.
that at all either.
Yeah, I don't remember them saying that. So why is it? I feel like it didn't work. Do you have your mouse on me or you?
Doing it right now. I just
Okay.
figured it out. Yeah, I
Oh,
just
okay.
figured it out. Yep.
Anyway, so I wanted to look it up because I was like, I don't remember them saying that before, and maybe they have, and I just overlooked it. But anyway, it just said that he was like born there. So like I don't know if he actually grew up there, but I was fascinated, and
I
that's
have to
why I
ask
looked it
him.
up. And then that was why uh that was why I was looking him up anyway. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Okay, so we had Tommaso Ciampa take on Austin Theory because DIY is feuding with A-Town Down Under. They want a chance at the titles, and the bad boys don't think that they deserve it. So it's like, okay, well, why don't we do halfsies? And like, you can fight half of us, and we'll fight half of you.
Classic.
So yeah.
Classic.
So the match was totally fine. You knew it was going to be good because both of these guys are good, and I think I have been an advocate for Austin Theory, and I think that this showed again that he's just so good. Like, I just don't care what anyone says. I just love me some Austin Theory. We've come a long way. My feelings about
Really
Austin Theory have come a long way.
a
But
long way.
what I know really is it's
It
like
really is. Yeah.
um
Insane.
so the match was fine. It ends with a schoolboy pin by Ciampa, so he gets the win. But it's what happened and what led to that I think was basically the only reason why this match really happened, other than continuing whatever feud they have going on.
Yeah.
Especially now that DIY is on SmackDown. So we know Johnny Gargano was out there to support his boy, which means Grayson Waller was out there to support his guy as well. And he was listening to what Graves and Wade were saying, so he chimed in. And that was when he decided, okay, well, I'm going to hype up A-Town Down Under, but I'm going to give myself the credit for why we won the titles, for why Austin Theory is as good as he is. That was all me. That was the Grayson Waller effect. He got the Grayson Waller rub. And Theory hears this. Even though he's in the middle of the match, he had his ears were burning. He knew that something was going on.
I love wrestling.
And he got distracted by it. And so he was very offended. He was like, wait, what? What did you just say? What did you say about me? And that is when we get the schoolboy pin and the finish. So they're laying the groundwork even more for there to be a little bit of drama down under. And, this is something that we have been talking about for a while. We need it to be Austin Theory turns babyface. That is what we've needed. Like, I saw one of the aggregator accounts, I think it was like Wrestle Features or something, and they were like, what is your interest in seeing Austin Theory turn babyface? And I'm like,
100%.
We've needed this for 2 years. Like, I'm like, if anybody is not interested in it, I'm like, you're 2 years too late. Like, we've been saying this for so long.
We have been saying on the show for a long time.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Even when he was feuding with Cena, that was at last year's Mania.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, just make him face, man.
Well,
he's so good as a face.
Well, and I think that's the thing is like, I wouldn't say that it's a similar situation to MJF, because I obviously Theory is nowhere near as good of a heel as MJF is. But my line of thinking is like, you have to be able to do both. And right now he's not overly great as a heel, at least in the way that they were trying to. Like, I think when they had him come back, remember when he was like on a rampage on that one Raw where he was just like beating the crap out of everybody, and you were like, this is the type of energy that we need from you if you're gonna like be this type of heel. Didn't last. But that was also because they kept putting him in the US title picture. They kept giving it to him, taking it off, having him feud with Bobby Lashley. It was just a hot mess. Then they did nothing with him after beating John Cena at WrestleMania. So it was like, okay, it's almost like, why did that even happen? Why would you even have that be the finish or whatever? And I think he could be a good heel, but I feel like I think it's again, as we've said with people like Drew McIntyre, that he got screwed with how he was brought to the main roster. He was under the tutelage of Vince McMahon, and I think that's partly why his run has just been kind of like bleh, So I think that he needs to have a face turn, and I don't know that necessarily turning against Grayson Waller is going to get him this like huge amount of reaction from the fans, but I do think that he's such a nice guy in real life that I do think that he could be a really good guy on SmackDown. And they need to figure that out, especially now that DIY is there. Like, you don't have to necessarily reunite the way, but there's a reason
why. It's the teasing that though.
But and I was gonna say the way was successful in NXT, so there's no reason to like shy away from that, because with Theory, I think he does need the rub from somebody, you know what I mean? And I think that he could get he could kind of take some of the love that DIY gets and use it for himself. And so I feel like that would be a good pairing to kind of solidify him as a good guy again. And
yeah, I would agree with that.
It could be even
I
something that maybe he helps make sure that he loses the tag titles with Waller so that DIY wins or something like that. Like that could be an easy way.
it's interesting. I like the idea of him kind of not rejoining the way, but the way helping him find his way. Yes, pun
Mhm.
intended.
Mhm.
The thing that is I'm stuck on is that Grayson Waller does not need to be in a tag team. Like he
No.
is a single star. He's got it. All right. He's just a douchebag heel that needs to just kind of be on his own or have a minion.
It was
Austin Theory is
basically
not a minion.
yeah, because that's the
That's the
thing is like
issue.
the tag team was put together basically to benefit Theory.
And,
That
and
was
it did.
in my eyes that
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
No, you're on the ball. You're in the
Yeah.
ballpark.
I think
And,
it's just
and it
it's
did.
run its course a little bit.
It has. It was nice to see them become champions
Mhm.
and then have them do their thing with it and walking around it to showcase the titles. But at this point, they do need to go their separate ways, and the tag team titles need to go on a you know legit tag team that deserves a, I wouldn't say lengthy run, but a solid championship reign.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that DIY is very deserving. Out of all of the tag teams that they have on SmackDown, if it's not going to be Pretty Deadly, then
Street
give it to
Profits.
they've not been around enough recently, I think. I think
I know, but
DIY deserves it because they were very close at WrestleMania. So,
mhm.
I think they could be the next ones. I think uh, I think with the Street Profits, they just need to decide what they're trying to do. Like, are you trying to keep them as a group, as a tag team? Are you trying to keep them in a group with Bobby Lashley? Are you trying to split them up? Like, what are we doing? I think that they're kind of like in flux with what they want to do with them, and they just don't know. So that makes it kind of tricky to be like, okay, what are we supposed to get behind right now?
They win the tag titles DIY at SummerSlam in Cleveland
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
because Johnny Gargano,
Yeah. He's from there. Yeah.
he trained at the facility too. Apparently,
Mm.
like used to train there and stuff. I think when he was in NXT, I don't know, but I saw his post about it. Oh shit! I saw his post about it. So
That would be cool. All right, moving on to LA Knight. Um, we're finally seeing what we've wanted to see for a while after it was clear that they were not going to have LA Knight be in the WWE title picture. We want to see him against Logan Paul. We want to see him win the United States Championship. And at this point, there's literally no reason for Logan to retain because he's never around. He's defended his title twice in the over 200 days that he's been champion. So he's still not a full-timer. And the United States title, again, is the forgotten one that literally nobody cares about. It's like you're excited when Logan's going to be on because Logan's going to put on a great match, but like you're not invested in the US title. I mean, they just had him in a match at the last pay-per-view, but wasn't even for his title. So, LA Knight is in the back. He is looking for Mr. Logan Paul, talking to Nick Aldis, and Aldis is like, all right, well, he's not here yet, so we'll see. So he waits it out, and of course, Logan doesn't show up, which irritates LA Knight. And so he lets Aldis know, like, I'm looking for him. I'm coming for that US title. Like, just putting that out there. But Carmelo Hayes is sneaking around backstage and decides to come in. And we got kind of a John Cena-esque moment from LA Knight because Melo is saying, like, why would LA want to fight you? Like, you're trash. I am him, blah, blah, blah. And LA's like, well, if I wanted to fight myself, like, that would be pretty difficult.
I just look in the mirror.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my god, it's such a John Cena thing just because like Cena will call you out when you mess up. Like,
oh yeah.
That's such a veteran move. I love it though because
humbled.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're kind of hinting at something there. I think that if that's going to happen, maybe Melo is going to be eyeing the US title as well.
Oh yeah, that's just connect those dots, Sarah.
Yeah, I think we need to see it. So I really would love to see this happen at you know what? This is so tricky. So part of me is like, I want LA Knight to be US champion.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is what I want. But then I'm thinking about between Clash at the Castle and SummerSlam is Money in the Bank. And so many people have wanted to see LA Knight as the Money in the Bank winner.
No.
I'm not sure that I'm there. I honestly don't really know who I want to win the men's Money in the Bank. I already know that Tiffany Stratton has to win the women's, so I'm not concerned about that. But the men's, I haven't really given a whole lot of thought about that. Other than like, you know, I would love it. This is what I'm saying. Like, I would absolutely love it if, you know, if they do what I think might happen at Clash of the Castle and they have Drew McIntyre lose, have Drew McIntyre win Money in the Bank. I don't care that he is a guy that doesn't need the Money in the Bank briefcase. I feel like every couple years we can have a guy that doesn't actually need it, but like the storyline would be too good not to. Or you have like CM Punk win it. Again, I wouldn't love it, but like if Drew wins at Clash of the Castle, give CM Punk the Money in the Bank. Like just imagine.
Wow.
Or Finn.
He called this as you were saying it. Yeah. That's crazy.
Or Finn Balor if Damian retains. You know what I mean? Like there's some things there, I guess. But like I think I would almost prefer LA Knight to hold off on that right now and become US champion, because I think we can't keep waiting. You know what I mean? Like especially if it's going to be, it almost feels like whoever wins Money in the Bank should not be a SmackDown superstar. It has to be a Raw superstar, because you know Cody's not losing anytime soon. When it comes to
because it comes to Raw.
So on Raw, like you don't, it's not in the same echelon, obviously, as the title is on SmackDown. So there's more room for it to be like, okay, there's a possibility that whoever the world heavyweight champion is loses. So I think it should be on Raw. I think LA Knight needs to have a championship. It's been long enough. This dude deserves to be rewarded with a championship. And this would make sure basically that he would be on TV all the time, have pay-per-view matches all the time, because he's a champion. It's like, put the US title back on the map. Let LA Knight be that guy to try and revive its relevancy, because it's not working with other people. So at least try to get a guy that everybody loves to do it. You know, like I'm here for that 1,000%.
He would legitimize it. And the matches you could have with the US title, I'm already thinking you have Mello. You could have Andrade. You could do Santos if you want to connect there. Like there's a lot of weird type of type of matches that actually would really be entertaining.
Him and Waller.
Oh, him and Waller just continue that feud from NXT. That'd be incredible.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like there are really good options there.
There are.
And I feel, you know, we talk about how titles are in a lot of ways meant to be as like a reward for someone who's been doing a really great job. And we've been saying for over a year that LA Knight deserves to have a championship. So, I mean, I feel like at this point, like just give it to him. Like I would rather he wins the US title at Clash of the Castle, or he wins it at Money in the Bank or something, or even at SummerSlam, because then we also know that Logan's from Cleveland. So like he can lose there too. You know he's going to be there. He's like on the posters for SummerSlam.
Yeah, he can lose in front of home crowd.
He has to lose. LA Knight, it's like otherwise it's just such a waste of LA Knight, because then you also know he's not going to face Cody, and even if he does face Cody, he's not winning. So it's like you have to do something, because we cannot have in a respectful way regarding Cody, we can't have two championships on SmackDown being held hostage because one guy is not going to lose anytime soon and the other guy doesn't show up. Like we can't do that when you have a guy like LA Knight on the roster. Like we can't do that. It's not fair.
Can't be doing it.
No, it's not fair at all. LA Knight versus Joe Hendry. Don't even get us started. Joe Hendry thick. I always forget.
He is a thick boy.
He's a thick boy, and I'm like, you've been eating a lot of that nasty Scottish food, haven't you?
Big boy can move. Big boy can move.
He likes that haggis.
Is that what it is? That's its food?
Oh, I'm just saying Scottish food. Yeah, haggis is Scottish.
No, but haggis is food. I didn't know.
Yes, haggis is food. It's like I forget what it is, like intestines or something like that. I don't know.
Oh,
It's nasty.
ugh.
It's one of those things that it's like, okay, at the time, maybe you understand, whenever it was created, it's like, okay, well, they did what they had to do with the animals that they had. They were trying to make sure they used everything. You know what I mean? Because they needed food. But then I'm also like, we live in the year 2024. You don't have to do that anymore. Like, unless you live in like a third world country where you have to eat what you have. You know what I
No.
mean? Like, it's a delicacy, I guess, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like when you find out that your family is from there and you're like, I'd love to go there, and you're like, oh, the food is horrible. The food
Mhm.
is horrific. That's when I'm like, okay. Anyway, so we can just talk about this really quick. Apollo Crews versus Andrade. Fine match, good match. They're both great. I wish that we could see Apollo Crews on TV more. I wish Andrade, they could figure out what the hell they're doing with Andrade, because they still don't know. It feels like the only real reason that this was put on TV was because we wanted to see Andrade blow off Legato again, which I'm like, can we please stop? Like, I was so happy that we had Legato and LWO split up, but can we stop with the Legato trying to get people to join Legato, especially people that they've already tried to join? Like, can you leave Andrade alone? Can you go after a different person? Like,
I think they're going to.
I hope
This segment was to me a lot about setting up Legato's next target,
Mhm.
and Andrade is just a red herring. He's just a
Yeah.
red herring to me because you have him go past, and exactly how you're feeling is said through the fans. But the backstage segment when he goes back there, what are you doing? Da da da,
You
embarrassing me.
embarrassed me in front of my mates.
And boosh, Apollo Crews coming in, messing with Garza. That is Legato's next target. You attacked
Yeah.
one of them, so they have to attack you. I love that element. It's continuity, not just some random
But then
outburst. And it gets Apollo Crews back on TV, which a lot of people should be happy about.
it just worries me that then it's like, oh, now we're gonna see Apollo and Andrade team up now to go against Legato, and I'm just like, oh my god, no.
Of course they are, Sarah. Of
It's
course they
like,
are.
I mean, whatever. It's cool, sure, like, but that they're on TV, but like, I'm just like, it's just so crazy to me because there are certain things that we talk about. And obviously, you have to give credit to Triple H for all of the great things that he has done since taking over. But it's stuff like this that just pisses me off because, like, it's very hard for me to understand how you can't figure out how to use Andrade. Like, I don't understand. What are we doing? There's just certain things that I'm like, why are you still struggling with this person? Like, why did you bring him back? And then you're just like, well, you're in the same situation you were the last time you wanted to leave. It's like, I don't know. And I feel like Andrade is too freaking good to just be like thrown into these random matches with like no real storyline or feud or real uh like path to anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's frustrating.
It is very frustrating. It is. Technically, Legato never courted Andrade. That was Dominic trying to record Andrade.
True,
Oh,
but technically Andrade turned on them already and was like, I don't want to be with y'all.
yeah, he didn't want to
So,
be with the Judgment Day or Legato because Legato was helping. Like, there is some. I
because
see what you're saying,
Rey
Christopher.
Mysterio is he's a guy. It is his mentor and his hero. So I will
I
never
just.
turn on Rey Mysterio.
It's so funny how they just turn on one another so quick. I don't know. It just.
For the sake of Rey Mysterio.
I like how many times is that man gonna get turned on?
Who, Rey?
Ray.
I don't know. He doesn't care though. He's like thriving, doing dances with his daughter on TikTok and stuff, you know?
Booyaka. 6
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Yes! This is my favorite part of the show.
We find out that Paul Heyman, or do we find out? I don't know. Depends on what you believe. So Paul is backstage with Solo Sikoa, and Solo was talking to the Gorillas of, is it Gorillas of Destruction? Is that what they're called?
Girl of the Destiny.
Destiny. It's a different D. Okay. So he's telling them like, we've got the plan. This is what we got to do. Blah, 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 blah. And Paul is just very thrown off about the pure involvement of violence from the Bloodline 2.0. And although that was a huge factor of the original Bloodlines MO. He ain't into it with 2.0. So Paul says, Solo, I would like to better serve you as the wise man, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that because Roman, as the tribal chief, he used lots of violence, but there was a purpose to it. And it wasn't just because he could, and that feels like that's what you're doing. And I've already spoken with Roman. I've consulted with him, and we would always agree about what the plan was. So that's something you're not doing either. He's like, I see you recruiting these violent people into the bloodline, and it's violence without strategy, is what he says. And the strategy should be to have Cody in check before the real tribal chief returns. And Solo is a man of few words, but he says, we do have Cody Rhodes in check, and he doesn't even know it yet. And then Paul says, I'm sorry, I mean this as respectful as possible, but who's we? Who's we? And then it's just like, oh, okay. So this is another inkling, but this is kind of like the first, I don't know. What we see next too is kind of like more legitimizing that maybe Paul is a little bit more anti-Bloodline 2.0 than maybe we originally thought, right?
Oh, he is. Yes.
Yes. So, we'll stay here actually. So then we see Kevin Owens. He comes out to the ring and he is seeking revenge for his boy Randy Orton because Randy Orton, with those tree trunk thighs, needs some help, bro. Okay.
Well, RKO, the shirt. I need to buy that shirt. I don't know why I haven't yet.
Yeah. So he calls out the bloodline. That's basically what it is. But instead, Paul Heyman comes out and he's essentially there to warn Kevin Owens about the bloodline, which is an interesting tactic because he's done that before. And he was being truthful when he was warning people not to mess with the bloodline. You don't know who you're messing with. You don't know what they're capable of. You don't know the tribal chief. But this time, he's like, Roman did these things out of respect for every single person that he dealt with in a violent way, every person that he went up against. It was because, he likes you. He respected you. So that's why they brought it to you hard, KO, okay? Because Roman respects you so much. So you should probably stop messing with the Bloodline 2.0 because they're not the same. They're a completely different animal than the original Bloodline were. These guys are just scary. They're violent. I don't know what they're planning to do. So you should probably stop calling them out because if you continue, something bad is going to happen. So Kevin just kind of shrugs it off because obviously history could be repeating itself because, Paul is a snake, especially when it comes to defending the bloodline and trying to do their dirty work. So KO is like, why would I listen to you? I've been fighting the bloodline for years at this point and I am still standing.
4 years.
Yes. He's like,
that's
you're
insane.
likely still pulling the strings and you're just trying to instill fear in everybody. And that's what you're trying to do right now. And this really frustrates Paul Heyman, who looks like he's borderline about to cry. And he says that it's not really fair that he is not being credited as someone who could redeem himself because that is exactly what he's doing. Why is it that everyone else can redeem themselves, but he can't? He gets so frustrated that he then boops. He boops Mr. Kevin Owens with the microphone.
You can't do that. Can't do that, Paul.
Yeah. And then Kevin steps up to Paul, because he's like, excuse me, you just booped me with that microphone, sir. You booped the wrong guy. But that is when the Gorillas of Destiny come out. And that's when we finally see the Street Profits come out to defend their guy, Kevin Owens. And then we lead into the match, Gorillas of Destiny versus the Street Profits.
I loved this segment so much.
Yes.
I loved every bit of it. Kevin Owens is such a master on the microphone. He could feud with the bloodline forever for all
fight forever.
I don't care. It's so good. And to have him go toe to toe with Paul Heyman on the mic was incredible. And on top of that, when you have the God come out, and then the whole thing was done really well, where it did feel like an old Bloodline segment. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And that's what we need to get back to. It is the best story in wrestling. It still is,
Mm-hmm.
because they got the 2.0. They could have really shot the bed with 2.0 and
Mm-hmm.
really not have done a great job. But Solo is absolutely incredible in his new role as this maniacal tribal chief, you want to call it. I mean, just violence for no reason. And then you bring in God
Mm-hmm.
and Paul calling them criminals and thugs.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, that felt like, obviously you take it with what it is with the words, but I took it kind of in the way that the they did background checks. They didn't want them in the bloodline because they're if you're a wrestling fan, they're from other places. They're from New Japan. They're from the Indies, where it is the Wild West. You do whatever. There's just violence for no reason, and that's what they grew up in. Now you come to WWE. There needs to be a purpose with what you do. Everything needs to be a purpose. And Paul is trying to instill that, but they don't get it. There's a lot of layers to this that go just beyond kayfabe, and that's why it's just every time they pop on my screen, I have to be eyes glued.
Yeah, because I think it's more of like, I think that Paul was trying to be on board at first because it was like, okay, well, Roman's taking time off. He lost the title. Solo's taking over. This must have come from Roman. And then as time's gone on, he's realized, okay, that's not the case. Solo is going in a completely different direction than Roman ever thought to as the tribal chief. He's doing these things without including me in the decision making. So now I feel like he's trying to separate himself from the situation so that
Mm-hmm.
whenever Roman does come back, he can't use that against him. You know what I mean? He can't
Mm-hmm.
say like, "Oh, you turned your back on me. You named a new tribal chief that wasn't me. You're
He's covering his
okaying this
tracks.
type of ridiculous behavior, blah 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 blah." Like I think that we're kind of seeing that a little bit more, which I think makes more sense. Like these are guys that they definitely would have wanted in the bloodline when the bloodline was super hot, but now that we know that they're just building up an eventual feud of the original bloodline versus the new bloodline, it's like, okay, Paul has to kind of like draw a line in the sand and figure out, or let everybody know, like he's loyal to the OG tribal chief, which is Roman, and he's not okay with what Solo is doing, and also like kind of trying to save himself backstage because he doesn't want to be getting any beat downs or anything from anybody because they
No.
think that he's doing this. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of Paul's like character development in this story, because I
Oh
think,
yeah.
we've already seen Roman's already a baby face. Like he's not even been there, hasn't done a damn thing, lost that title, and people on a nearly weekly basis are chanting, "We want Roman." Hasn't done a damn thing, but this guy is so over as a baby face on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So like Paul
Posted one video.
having this like crisis about like his
Ryan
identity
T.
and who he associates with and what he's supposed to be doing and like what he's okay with and blah 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 blah. Like it's kind of interesting to see if they're going to try to build upon this like redemption of Paul Heyman, where he's like actually seeing things clearly now and he's not okay with what's going on, and he's seeing and reflecting upon what the bloodline did do over the course of nearly 4 years and realizing, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't all okay. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's way more interesting for Paul, and I think it's a good way to bring a little bit more of excitement into the bloodline storyline, because I think when
Mm-hmm.
Paul is just like the same guy all the time, it makes it a little bit boring. But we know that Roman's not going to be around for a while, so yeah, have some development in the Paul Heyman character to make it more interesting, right?
It's one of the more interesting Paul Heyman characters we've seen, because
Yes.
this man seems like he is defeated and lost and weak without Roman Reigns, and Roman's been there for so long, right by his side. So
Mhm.
now he has like, what does he do? It's so good. It's
It's
so
almost like wasn't there like a fallout between
good.
Punk and Heyman near the end? Wasn't there something that happened
Like
between
a
them?
kayfabe.
Yeah, but it was like that was like the last time that we kind of saw something interesting like this is what I mean from Paul. Like it's been
Oh, when he was mentioning like Curtis Axel
yeah,
and
that kind of yeah, so that's what I
why
mean.
was it
Yeah.
Kurt?
Yes.
Brock. It was Brock.
Yeah, but also he was with Axel. Yeah, they were trying
No, he
really
was
hard.
too.
Yeah,
I
they were
I thought
trying.
Ryback for a second. I was like, no,
Ugh.
Ryback is not a Paul Heyman guy.
No.
No, he's
No.
no, he did not. He manage Ryback?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. There's
Did he?
no shot Paul Heyman managed Ryback.
Oh my god, I don't want to know. I don't want to know the answer to that.
I really hope the answer is not what I think it is right now. So let's
All
just
right.
talk about. Well, do we
Yeah.
want to? They won.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway, what I wanted to say about this is a good match because obviously of the guys who were involved, and it just once again for the millionth time has furthered my obsession with Tama Tonga. So I'm obsessed with this man. He's being pushed in the corner, and he like is getting beaten up by Montez, and he just keeps telling him to come back, like keep going. You remember, like he
He's a
even
psycho.
got out, and like Montez was done. He like pushed himself back in there and was like, "Keep going, like just keep whatever you want to do, just keep
You
doing
want
it."
it?
And I'm
Let's
like,
go.
I'm obsessed. But the other thing that I really liked was we've talked about the evolution of commentary under Triple H, and this was another one of those nights where you could hear it because Graves was made sure to mention that Tama and Tonga's history in New Japan, that they were 7-time tag team champions, which is a record in New Japan. So I feel like that's kind of cool because for a lot of people, they're just going to be like, oh, who are these guys? Okay, they're more Samoans or they're a part of the family, whatever.
There are
like,
more Samoans.
yeah,
That's
it's
just
like,
how it feels. Like, okay,
yeah, it's
another
just like
Samoan.
more
Come on down.
people on the family tree. Okay,
So
you know what I
funny.
mean? Like their dad's
Yeah.
Haku, cool. You know, like they're not going to really know who these guys are outside of whatever they're doing on SmackDown. And so I like that they're bringing this in, and like it's a way to kind of legitimize them too, I think. Especially if they're going to keep having them go in tag team matches. It's like, okay, no, like they're actually legit. There's a chemistry here, which I think is really cool too, because I think there are people who are not exactly on 100% on board with Tonga Loa, but I like that Graves was pushing hard for him, being like, this guy's a monster, he's scary, he's this and that. And I was like, brilliant,
Yes.
brilliant, Corey.
Commentators do their job. Yes.
Yes.
This is the job of the commentator.
Yes. So I loved that. And yeah, I don't care how much we see Tama Tonga hissing and being a gremlin and stuff. I don't care. I love it. I want to see it all the time.
Donnie from the Wild Thornberries.
Oh my gosh, I remember this.
No,
Yeah,
you do.
I remember this. Yeah, I do. I remember, and then he like awkwardly laughed. Oh my god, I do remember that. Oh my god.
I don't want. I like. Oh, I want to. I want to look at it like a car wreck.
Oh
Like
my
I want to
god.
like watch it, but like as I'm passing. Like I need
Oh
to
yeah,
see it.
he was in a wheelchair and he gave him a kiss. Yeah, I remember.
What?
Yeah, he kissed him on the cheek or head or something.
I
Yeah.
need to see this. I need the champ needs
Yeah.
to see evidence.
Oh my
of this.
god, I remember that.
Oh
my gosh.
Sarah.
Yeah, that's okay.
I
Anyway,
just took a shower and now I feel like dirty.
yeah, no,
for
that
having
was
Ryback and Paul Heyman kissing in my
well.
head.
It was Ryback kissed his cheek. It
Yeah,
wasn't like
I know,
they made out.
I know, but my brain's going like, so they made out. I'm like, no, they
Kiss.
just, like
what if you kissed right now? Kiss. Oh man, I just ripped out my charging thing. Okay. Anyway,
That's tough to think about Ryback kissing Paul Heyman.
yeah, let's move on. So after Bayley got that beat down to start SmackDown, she had Naomi come out and was like, hey girl, we need to take it to them. And she was like, okay, yeah, let's go kick some ass, let's go. And so they get into a tag match to face Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. It was a solid match. As we said earlier, it was good to see Chelsea. Obviously, it was good to see Chelsea and Piper featured against two of the top talents in the women's division on SmackDown. So I'm like, okay, because I think there was a little bit of concern about them moving from Raw to SmackDown. Like I wasn't exactly thrilled about it, but if they're going to be involved in this type of stuff, I hope it goes beyond just trying to do a proper build up for Clash at the Castle. Like, I hope it goes beyond that, because otherwise it's just lame. You know, like, it's cool that you're going to put Piper in a big match in her home country, but like, can you extend that beyond the pay-per-view? Because it's just, I don't know. I hate when you see like this random push and then it all of a sudden just ends when there's like a certain event that happens. It's like, okay, we're good now. You know, like, I hope it goes beyond that. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about that other than cool. Like,
I just, I like if we want to go into like little details, you know, for a social clip.
Yeah.
I was a fan of how Chelsea, like, this is why I love Chelsea Green, is because you have her start, she gets one punch on Bailey and then immediately taken down, crawling so fast over to Piper to tag out. But then as soon as Piper has the upper hand, boom, I want to tag in. Like, that's that dynamic you're going to see with this duo that I'm here for. I want to see more stuff like this, because this is how you build up Piper as a dominant figure. You need to build Piper up. She's so good. And I'm on your side when you say that you don't want to just end at Clash of the Castle, that she is considered a legit championship contender. You know, maybe it's a one match with Bailey and that's all. Fine. But don't just bump her down to the bottom of the card. You know, keep her and Chelsea relevant. Keep them doing stuff. This should be a signal to you that the fans want to see Piper and Chelsea on their screens, but they want it done right. And there's time on the SmackDown show to make it right too.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. I think that there's a reason that they moved them to SmackDown. At least you assume so, because there was nothing wrong with them being on Raw, obviously.
Yeah.
So you hope that they have bigger plans for them. But we'll see. We shall see.
Old Man Mob actually just tagged that video, so I get to watch it after.
Oh, okay.
That's my last wrestling moment before I go and party. So thank you for that. Thanks, Old Man Mob, that the last wrestling thing I'm going to see before I go party is Paul Heyman getting kissed by Ryback.
There you go. Got to do what you got to do. All right. So then we see the main event basically is AJ Styles pulling a Mark Henry. And before we even get into the details of what happened,
I'll let you go off. Because we're thinking the same thing.
Fans are so fickle. Okay, fans are so fickle, because you know, when I SmackDown is spoiled for me every single week because I don't get to watch it live. So I do check and see what's going on and if it's like really worth me watching that night or if I could watch it the next day. Once I immediately saw that SmackDown was opening up with seeing AJ Styles in a suit and he was like looking like kind of solemn and serious. I was like, oh, okay.
And pastel.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, you know, and they're kind of like hinting at him retiring. I was like, all right, my first thought was maybe this is going to be a Mark Henry moment. Okay. But at the same time, I wasn't 100% sold on that because he has been talking about potentially retiring. He has said that he is closer to the end than he wants to admit. So to me, there was a little bit of realism behind this. I mean, and they sold it really well because he also had, you know, other people out there with him and they made it a thing throughout the entire show. But then at the same time, the fact that it did end up being a Mark Henry thing, I don't care. And I think people pick and choose when they care and when they don't. Because when it comes to nostalgia, when it comes to things that are iconic, and oh my God, I love that moment. And that was so cool. You guys talk about how you want to see it all the time. You want to see it over and over and over again. And when it comes to certain people, you're fine with history repeating itself because it's, you know, it's something that you loved from 10 years ago or whatever it is. Yeah. So it's weird to me to see this reaction to AJ Styles segment being reminiscent of Mark Henry's when everybody has joked about it since that moment happened. And it's like, you guys love AJ Styles. And instead of embracing that he did this to get his title shot, are you saying you wished that he had just retired? Is that what you're saying? Because like that's the alternative. If everything stayed the same except for that part of him turning on Cody, he would have actually retired. So is that what you would have preferred or what? Like, are you saying scrap the whole thing? Like, what are we doing?
Is this what you want? Is this what you want, wrestling fans?
Are you not entertained? Like, I I don't get it.
AJ Styles needs to just continue wrestling. It actually was funny because I was rewatching it like I do upstairs instead of down in the cave, and my dad walks in, and I'm like, Dad, I have been watching that man since I was in grade school. And then I told the story about the DVR and whatnot because old man, he forgets. So I, after thought, said that story to him, I was thinking to myself, like, AJ Styles has been a constant in wrestling forever. And especially going into this new era, for him to retire, if he was to legit retire, that is so sad, and I think worse. Like he could have not even turned on Cody and just said, "LOL, just kidding," and then frolicked to the back, and I would have been more okay with that than him actually retiring. Like you have to think of the alternative, and you said it with the Mark Henry thing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care that it's been redone. Do you know how many things have been redone in wrestling over and over and over, and no one says boo? But
I
the
know.
first moment that we get one of the more iconic social trends and memes and whatever happen in front of you and done well, by the way, with
Mm-hmm.
you the details you said, the people coming out, LA Knight even being like, if you're gonna do this, like, respect. And there
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, like you think they just brawl with each
Mm-hmm.
other, you'd get one last good punch in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really irks me, really grinds my gears,
Mm-hmm.
we'll say, um, as a wrestling fan, that you don't just accept it for what it is. You have to be mad about it when it may be old and revamped. But I could go on and on about examples about how things have been rewritten, but we'd be here forever. Okay.
Well, and I think the context of this made sense. Like, I don't know many people, and I say this in a respectful way to Mark Henry, but like, I don't know many people who were that invested in Mark Henry's career when he pulled this stunt that actually cared what he was saying. You know what I mean? I don't think there was anyone that was really like, oh no, we don't want Mark Henry to retire. Like, you got emotionally invested in it
Yeah.
because he was
Oh shit.
emotional, but no one was sitting there being like, oh, wow, really? No, Mark Henry, don't retire. Like, come on, guys, you did not care, you know? So it's like, it's weird to me that, like, you couldn't have gotten behind this. Like, it is kind of silly that Nick Aldis said to him, okay, if you want a rematch, even though you just don't you usually get a rematch. Apparently, that's not a thing anymore in WWE. You don't have an automatic rematch clause. You have to go to the back of the line. Everything he was saying was fine, and he still does have a vendetta against Cody. So it's like, okay, well, all of this makes sense, and it makes their feud a lot more interesting because people have said Cody's title run has been boring so far. I don't agree. I do think part of it is because he's on SmackDown and not on Raw, and I think that affects some people's idea of what's interesting and what's not. But they had a banger. AJ Styles even said it was probably one of the best matches that he's had his entire career.
No
Why
lie, it
wouldn't you
was.
want to see that again? And if this is the way that they have to set it up, instead of it being all like cordial and like, oh, thanks, big bro, thanks, little bro, let's do it again. Like, I would rather see AJ unleash on Cody in this way than have it be like the two nice guys just trying to like, oh, let's just do it again because like you're almost done and like I'm the new guy. Like, that's so corny and dumb. Like, I want there to be some sort of edge to their feud instead of it just being about pleasantries. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like there's no the Mark Henry thing. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of going on here.
Yeah, so I'm fine with this. I think this is more exciting for what's to come between AJ and Cody, whether it's at Clash of the Castle or it's beyond that. I don't know. I'm also into it because there is no other real person beyond AJ Styles that they've even teased could be Cody's next opponent. So
Yeah,
I'd
and
rather them can go back to what his last match was, which was really good, and also continue utilizing AJ Styles in this role than have Cody floundering and kind of just like going out there in a suit talking about like how great it is to be the guy, and then that's it every week. You know what I mean? Like, that would be a boring title reign. I'd rather he actually has something actively going on that you know is going to be a good feud. You know they can both kill it on the mic, they kill it in the ring. Like, yeah, I would watch that. But other than that, it's like, who would he be facing? Let it be AJ Styles for right now.
If anyone needs this feud, it's not Cody, it's AJ.
Yeah.
It's AJ needs this feud more than ever. And we haven't really seen a dark heel out of AJ. We've seen the douchey heel where he just runs his mouth and whatnot, but we haven't seen this dark
especially
side.
with Omos. Remember that?
Oh my god, I can't. That's from when they did the video of him going, "That's Cap,
Yeah.
that's a lie."
That was good times though. Was that during the Thunderdome era?
It was.
Okay,
it was.
there were some gems from the Thunderdome era. Okay, AJ Styles and Omos.
That was a good pairing.
It was Omos, right? I feel like
yeah, you're right. You're
okay.
right.
For some reason, I felt like that
You're
was
right.
wrong, but like, yeah, that was good. So this is something that I feel like, I mean, I want to see AJ go to the extreme more. Like, I want, if they're gonna make him a heel, it's what I say about everybody though. Like what I want from Judgment Day and stuff. Like, just push it. Like, just be so evil and like sneaky and like that's what I want from AJ. Like, do that. So I would love for him to go to that level, because I feel like you kind of need to when you're against a Cody Rhodes type baby face. You know what I mean? Because he's just like so sweet. It's like you need to have the polar opposite of it. So like go full dark, like bad guy mode. And that would make it so much more entertaining. So I would like to see that. And people have wanted to see that from AJ Styles anyway. So, but apparently, I guess people wanted to see him retire instead. I don't know. I mean,
if you want to see AJ Styles retire, I don't want to see you.
I don't either, but you know, they were being annoying. So
he's my nephew, one of my nephew's favorite wrestlers too.
Yes, you've
Apple does not fall too far from the tree.
Yeah,
but it's not a bad apple because I'm no learning tree.
Okay.
That's what. Oh yeah, you don't want. That's what we're calling.
Yeah,
disciples.
I heard. Yeah.
Okay, you're up on that because when I heard that, that was
ick. It's ick. Yeah.
Why y'all change the name? You gotta have a name for a show.
Pitts and Sarah's wrestling show was not going to cut it.
Yeah, you could be blunt about it. I don't.
Yeah, that's just like
I don't know how else to put it. Like
I feel like that's something that works when you're already like an established famous pairing or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're the Pat McAfee show. Okay, well yeah, we know who Pat McAfee is. You know what I mean? But if we're like Pitts and Sarah, it's like who? You know, like, and why would someone watch that necessarily? Like if we're trying to bring in new viewers. You know, I don't know. It was just time. We liked the no nights off thing was just kind of like a random thing that happened. It was just part of what Pat said. So we were like, okay, cool. Let's like, maybe we could use that as a name. And it's accurate anyway. And it just clicks. It feels like it's a good thing. Like if we ever do get big enough that we could make merch or something, like it feels like that's such an easy thing that isn't so niche like Pitts and Sarah's wrestling show. You know, having a shirt that says like no nights off on it. Like, I think people are more prone to wear that than something that is like so in your face. Something, you know what I mean?
I agree. And with merch ideas, I have so many that I have thought of.
Doesn't mean they're good though.
That's fine. That's not what I'm trying to. That's not what I'm trying to persuade right now.
Well,
so they could be. I could have 20 ideas and 21 of them could be terrible. The point is that now I say this on here because do the peeps want merch? If you want merch, I will cook it up.
I know. I don't think that we have enough.
We're not there yet, but I have the ideas. I just thought of one now. Off of Thursday show type of look, and then there was another one based on what we said here. But yeah, there's like, a lot of good shit.
I think stuff like something small or something like stickers aren't a bad idea.
Stickers play so hard.
So that's what I mean. Like that's easy because people, you know, you can put it on your water bottle, you can put it on your car, you can put it on your notebook, on your laptop, but you know what I mean? Like that is something that I feel like isn't too bad of something to start with. I think t-shirts is just a big thing because it's like the idea of someone actually wanting to pay $20-$30 for something. And that's like very specific. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel
I
there are
agree.
cool ideas that you can come up with for a sticker that people would be more inclined to purchase because then they're
Ooh, a
also like $5.
bracelet,
Oh yeah.
like the Live Strong ones, because that's what I wear. Well, I'm not wearing them now because they fall off, but I'm a big bracelet guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think there's a lot, of things like koozies even, you know what I'm saying? Like there's
now
things
you're
like
speaking my
that.
language.
So yeah, that kind of stuff. But I
Now you're
also
now you're
it's
talking.
also one of those things though that's like you don't want to feel yourself like too early. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
fair.
you
Yeah,
don't
I
want
get
to
what I
be like,
mean.
"Oh yeah, we're big enough now that like we can get merch." You know what I mean? And you don't want it to
Hmm.
bomb either. So that's the thing that I'm like kind of just like, I'm a little bit weary about it. Like we can see cuz we have a few built-in audience members that are here every stream or nearly every stream, but it's like, today was a really slow day in the chat.
Well,
And so
yeah.
it's like hard to get the feedback from people when it's
Hmm.
not consistent every single time. So
Exactly.
that makes
Yeah.
it difficult because then it's like, well, why would I want to introduce a t-shirt? Like, like I
Yeah.
don't want to make it seem like, oh, we have 1,800 subscribers that's ready to like, I don't know.
No, we're not there yet, but it's nice to think about because
Yeah.
it's manifesting. It's think about the plan. It's getting that goals and whatnot. It's all mixed into that so that this is not just us sitting in here and excuse to see each other. It's because we want to talk about it. We love this stuff. We love wrestling and love talking about it, and it also gives us an avenue to talk about it with other people based on where
Mhm.
we are. It's not really possible to talk about it all the time or as much as we'd like with the people in our lives. So coming on here into the artist streams with you guys to talk about it does really make a positive impact on our day. So we thank you for that, and we hope one day that we can make merch, we can make more shows, we can do more, not only gaming streams with Sarah's fake wrestler, but other crazy ideas like that. That's just the future. There's a lot of stuff that I think would be really cool in if we got that loyal fan base that we're slowly building. I mean, everyone today I count as a loyal fan. You're here on a Saturday at 8 o'clock. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Old man mob, may not be every stream, but motherfuckers here.
Well, and we also
Um,
don't it's hard because, like, yeah, who's here on stream, but we don't know who watches the videos, you know
we
what I
don't
mean?
know
We
watch
can't
the
see that.
videos.
Yeah,
We
and
don't know who watch on
that's a lot of
Twitter.
people because that's why the videos are made because people don't always wanna sit around and watch or listen to
That's
a
why we do it.
hour stream, so, yeah.
Like Hunter Iggy. I don't know if you've been here before or whatnot. If you
He
have, welcome back. But who else from GNA? We'll end with this. I could see Joe Hendry popping up.
I think that would be brilliant on both sides because I think, he's the hottest one of the hottest acts in TNA right now.
Easily.
So that benefits TNA to then bring him to a television audience because
Mhm.
I don't think TNA is on TV. I think you have to buy a subscription or
It's
something.
not. Yeah, it's not on cable television.
Yeah. Um, but then that benefits NXT as well because they're having one of the hottest stars from TNA on their show. Um, and then that benefits Hendry
I
because he
think
was
for
already
obvious
like
reasons.
his song was like number one at some point.
It was number
Um,
one in UK. It
yeah,
was
so
number
I
one in the
I
UK.
think that for sure. Uh, I don't know about the others though because I think because we talked about this the other day. I think it really just depends on the direction that they're trying to go in because like
Mhm.
it would be interesting to see like Mustafa Ali, but I don't know if that would be a thing that he would even want because he seemed to be a little bit not
He's good.
friendly on his way out. Um, so and that would depend. Like, do you want to bring back this guy that you fired? Do you want to bring in a guy who's the X Division champion? Like, unless you're going to be trying to do that same type of thing as well. Like, there's certain things, but it's hard because we don't know how often this is going to happen, what their plans are. We can guess, but this was so out of left field. It's kind of hard to predict at this
It
point, you
really
know?
is. It really is. I'd like maybe from another girl I just bring up because she's kind of popular. And she was at, I don't know if you saw her or know who she is, but she was at Wale Mania, Zaya Brookside.
I've heard of her.
She was there at Wale Mania. That was really cool. Josh Alexander, I'd like to see, and then my big match that oh my god, I would lose it over this: Moose versus Obafemi.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You know what'd be so interesting is I think that the NXT crowd, and I say this in a respectful way, I think the NXT crowd is a little bit more wrestling intelligent than the typical Raw and SmackDown viewer. So I think that if a guy like Moose showed up in NXT, you would probably immediately start hearing Moose chants. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it wouldn't have
Mhm.
to be something where you would be like, oh, wait, this is a guy named Moose. And people be like, what? What kind of name is that?
Mhm.
Like, no, I think they're going to be way more well versed in who people are in other companies or in the indies, that it wouldn't be a bad idea. I think that's sometimes a concern with WWE. Like, oh, do we bring this guy in? Like, is anyone going to know who they are? Like, we even saw it with Julia. She was genuinely shocked that the NXT crowd
Genuine.
knew who she was. So I feel WWE feels like that sometimes too. But I think when it comes to the NXT crowd, they're gonna know. So if Moose showed up, it's not there.
They'll know.
Yeah, they're gonna be hyped AF, especially if it is against Obafemi. Like, come on now. These are
Oh
dream
man,
matches that you legitimately thought would never happen. You know what I mean? And
but they're
something
going to
like
happen.
Obafemi versus Moose is not necessarily a dream match for many people, but
No,
it's like
but
when you
yeah.
think about these two giant powerhouse type of wrestlers fighting, and they're both champions right now, especially like, yeah,
It's insane. It's
yeah,
fucking insane. It's
that would be
insane the world
cool.
we live in, that
I know.
things like this are a possibility, because it is something that I dreamed about when I was in 5th grade,
Yeah.
DVRing TNA, and I'm
As
seeing Abyss take it on Rhino, and I'm like, why can't Abyss take on Kane? Or why
yeah.
can't Abyss take on this guy? Like, you just Christopher Daniels versus Rey Mysterio. Like, you're thinking of guy, like, you wanted that, and now we're going to get type of things like that. It is the best time to be a wrestling fan ever.
Yeah,
Ever.
because as we said, the tribalism that we see between AEW and WWE was hardcore between TNA and WWE as well. So this was never something that I thought would happen. Like, you kind of
Yeah.
thought maybe when TNA was dying down that maybe this could happen, but you also thought TNA was going to go under. So that was why you thought, okay, yeah, they'll bring in TNA talent, but it's thriving again. So it's like they're not necessarily competition,
No.
but they're still a rival company
Yeah,
that,
it's like
you
healthy
know,
competition. They need one another to survive.
because
You
I
do.
I thought it was interesting that someone brought it up, like, why would they have this partnership with TNA and they're I think it was a question that we had the other day, and not with AEW, and I feel like it's
Mhm.
just totally different because it's like WWF versus WCW. Like, WCW was actually a legitimate threat to WWF. And they never did business with each other. You know what I mean? Like, that was just not a thing. And it feels similar to that now, but it's not because AEW is WCW. You know what I mean?
No.
It's more so of like, we know what type of businessman Tony is, and he does a lot of things out of spite or to just be able to finger point at WWE and be like, ha 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 ha. So
Yeah. And he also
he's
mm,
not open to doing business with WWE either. So I think if they approached him, they already did. I think they when they asked about using Billy Gunn, I think, for the DX 20-year anniversary, and they Tony demanded that if they brought him out, that they had to mention AEW live on air, and so they said no. So that's the type of thing that it's like,
yeah,
no, we're not doing
it's
that kind
not
of business because they're
exactly.
competition, but not really. It's like they are, but they're not. It's so hard to explain, but it's like it's very different than
Their
the
competition in the business world. Their competition because they air wrestling shows at similar times and they're trying to do the same thing. Where TNA is a competition because it's a wrestling company, but it's not for to kick them out of business. All right,
Yeah.
it's more about
They're not
you know
threatened.
they're not threatened, and to be honest, you want to have working relationships like that because it could lead to potentially having one of their stars go to you because the bigger platform, and you want to have work relationships like that because you want to entertain the niche wrestling fan who is going to tune in on Thursdays at Impact whatever app and watch Impact
Mhm.
because that's not a threat to you. It actually makes your product better because you're seeing what they're doing. Can we incorporate that into our show? And then if you do, great, you got an idea. If you can't, well, that's what separates them from you, and that's what makes them unique. So it all works out in the end, and I'm so excited to see where the hell this partnership leads to. I
Well, and it's
really am.
just like AEW and Ring of Honor. Like they're not gonna like
Yeah,
Triple H isn't gonna buy TNA, but it's
no,
like a similar partnership. It's like we'll have crossovers maybe sometimes, like when it seems necessary. Because I think that's the thing is we're
yeah,
getting excited about all the possibilities, but you also don't want to like overdo it. You know, like you
yeah,
don't want
exactly.
this new person every week because then it's not going to be as exciting as Jordan Grace showing up. You
And
know,
it'll lose its lore. Like, do you
yes,
remember the Sweet Life on Deck with Hannah Montana, or the sweet That's
yeah,
So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana? Yeah, like
yeah,
all those
yeah.
crossovers, like it's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so thank you guys, as we already said, but thank you for tuning in to this edition of No Nights Off, and follow us, subscribe, hit that button. We got 1840 something subscribers. Okay,
No,
it's
we have
pretty
more than
cool.
that.
Really?
Yeah, 1858.
Let's go. Let's keep it climbing. Climb to 19 hundo is it's approaching. It's upon us. So go be part of that movement and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to know every time we go live and post because we do post videos from these. It's where we get a lot of audience. So go check those out. Share them. Tell a friend. And then follow us on all social media platforms in the links in the description, from the Twitter, X, whatever, to Instagram and whatnot. And be on the lookout. We will be back for Raw Rewind on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Sara hops back into the nonsense galaxy. Sarah, you got your first appearance on Raw. How you feeling? Feeling good? You saw
Yep.
the man. You
Mhm.
saw Becky Lynch. She gave you a pep talk.
That's my
And
girl.
you're gonna fight Shotzi, which I not gonna lie, you probably have wanted to fight Shotzi on this podcast at some point. So, why is the fire? Why is the my smoke alarm is going off? So that's a great way to end the show. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you gotta do is try. Time for the champ to put on another fire. We'll see you on Tuesday. Let's go.